episode 399. I will be talking about today's episodes of AEW Rampage, featuring the Firm, Deletion, and WWE Friday Night SmackDown live from Puerto Rico, right here, right now, 360 Wrestling Fanatic. Hello and welcome, Wrestling Fanatics, to a new episode of 360 Wrestling Fanatic, right here on Spreaker or wherever you are listening to this podcast right now. Friday night, TGIF, gonna be starting off this episode of 360 talking about AEW Rampage, which this week once again was on an earlier start time at 6:30, and tonight's Friday night SmackDown live from Puerto Rico, the site of tomorrow night's Backlash Premium Live event. And let's get started right into it. AEW Rampage, which started at 6:30 tonight. It was actually advertised as being on at 6:30 this week, unlike last week. It was supposed to start at 5:30, but then the last minute, almost, TNT changed it to 6:30. So tonight's episode of Rampage, which was taped Wednesday night before Dynamite, the commentators, Tony Schiavone, good old JR, Jim Ross, and Excalibur. And we kick things off with a trios match. El Hijo del Vikingo and the Lucha Brothers defeating Powerhouse Hobbs, QT Marshall, and Aaron Solo QTV. This one was a pretty good match, I thought, to kick off Rampage this week. And then we get some exclusive backstage footage of MJF after Dynamite went off the air last Wednesday. We see an interview with Chris Jericho, and he apologized that he is unable to perform his duties on commentary tonight due to the recent attack from Adam Cole, and he locks himself in his locker room. And we find out that Taya Valkyrie has been suspended for putting her hands on referee Aubrey Edwards on last week's Dynamite. After the match with Jade Cargill, she grabbed Aubrey and almost gave her the road to Valhalla. And the AEW TBS champion Jade Cargill is in action tonight. She defeats Gia Scott and is now 57-0 in AEW. And backstage we see Mark Briscoe backstage with Preston Vance, or getting ready for his match, I should say, with Preston Vance. And then we see Jeff Jarrett, Jay Lethal, Sanjay Dutt, Sonam Singh, as they plan to take the titles away from FTR at Double or Nothing. And now it's time for the match. Mark Briscoe defeats Preston Vance, who had Jose, the assistant, in his corner. Mark Briscoe's kids are in the front row, and he celebrates with them after his victory. We get an interview with the Natural Dustin Rhodes discussing AEW coming to his hometown of Austin, Texas on May 17th. And then he is attacked by Brian Cage and Swerve Strickland, and then Keith Lee runs in to make the save, and we will see a tag match, I'm guessing, and we get a video package on Anna Jay and Julia Hart. And this Wednesday night here in Detroit, Michigan on Dynamite, Julia Hart and Anna JAS I should say, will be going at it in a no-holds-barred match at Little Caesars Arena. And we also find out that a trios championship match will take place. House of Black to take on Bandito and the Best Friends in the first ever House Rules match, or no, they're not calling it that, but the House of Black Rules, I think. I could be wrong about that, but that's what they talked about on Dynamite last Wednesday night. And Claudio Castagnoli will face Ray Phoenix in a double Jeopardy match. Also, the AEW International Championship will be on the line. Freshly squeezed Orange Cassidy taking on, from the Jericho Appreciation Society, Daniel Garcia. That's all this Wednesday night on Dynamite, live from Detroit at the Little Caesars Arena. And now it's time for the firm deletion taking place from the Hardy compound in Cameron, North Carolina. I just want to say this wasn't bad, but I don't think it was as good as the things, the Broken Matt Hardy stuff, and that they did in TNA/Impact Wrestling. Not quite as good, but I did think it was better than when he was Woken Matt Hardy in WWE. The thing he did with Bray Wyatt, I would say this was better, but definitely not as good as the stuff he did in TNA with the Broken character. Maybe it's just me, but I didn't think it was really that great tonight. One of the things that I didn't like is that they had the commentary, and if you remember, a lot of times for like the final deletion and things like that, usually when they were doing the stuff at the Hardy compound, there was no commentary. That was just there going on, and the only time you really heard any commentary or anything is if they were like in the Impact Zone or whichever arena they were in for the pay-per-view. But the stuff that they did at the Hardy compound, I don't recall there really being any commentary on that. So that's one thing I didn't really care for this one tonight, and the rest of it just didn't really seem quite as good to me. But a couple good things, though. We did see Vanguard 1. We saw Matt Hardy's kids get involved. Maxwell beating up Stokey Hathaway. Rebby Sky, or Queen Rebecca, I should say, and Senor Benjamin, as Matt Hardy would say. And then the Hardys and Isaiah Cassidy and Hook end up winning. And then Jeff Hardy goes out, and there's a fire that forms one of the Hardy symbols, and that's it. So, again, I didn't think it was really that bad, but also I didn't really think it was that good either. Definitely worth checking out. Maybe you'll like it more than I did. If you missed tonight's episode of Rampage, the firm deletion, really the first time in AEW we've really seen like one of the cinematic matches featuring the Broken Matt and Brother Nero characters. And that was tonight's episode of AEW Rampage. And now on to WWE Friday Night SmackDown, live from San Juan, Puerto Rico, in the same arena where tomorrow's WWE Backlash will be held.